Hi everybody, back on the Santa Fe CM model with the dual air conditioning, climate control and the actuators, the situation with the actuators. Okay, so this actuator here, this is the one which actually controls the direction of the airflow. So this is the one which controls the vents. It's the top actuator on the right hand side of the AC unit up under the dashboard of the Santa Fe, Hyundai Santa Fe. So I've eliminated any problems with this actuator. Now to do that, what I've done is down inside here we've got the 5 pins. If you just look a close look at the phone to focus there a little bit. It's better. It's the 5 pins there. Now there seems to be a little yellow paint mark on both of these actuators on one side. So that tells us that the first 2 pins are the 12 volts DC for the little DC motor that's inside of this actuator. And the next 3 pins, let's get a better view here, the next 3 pins are the feedback potentiometer or resistor. Now the 2 outside pins of those right hand 3 pins are the total resistance of the potentiometer. On this particular one here it's about 5k ohms. So when the actuator rotates, the resistance changes from the outside to the inside, so that's the middle of those 3 terminals, it's the common terminal. So from common to the left or common to the right pin, the resistance will change, but the total resistance of those 2 values will add up to about 5k ohms. So at about half position on the actuator, we're looking at about 2.5k from the left hand pin to the middle pin and the right hand pin to the middle pin of those 3 right hand pins. Now I just used a little 9-volt battery to move the actuator to run the motor with some little alligator clip leads, and to reverse all you've got to do is swap the polarity on the battery. So just swap over your positive and negative on the battery and you'll see the arm here rotating clockwise or anti-clockwise. So I'm quite satisfied that this actuator is working as it should do. I haven't put 12 volts onto it. You don't need to put 12 volts. The motor works quite happily on 9 volts DC. And I'm getting a nice consistent feedback on the position or the positioning potentiometer, which will send a signal back to the main controller on the front of the dashboard, down where you've got your dual controls for your AC system. This is on the Santa Fe, Hyundai Santa Fe. So there you go, that's the top actuator. Now that one I wasn't really so concerned about anyway. I believe everything was working okay on the vent positions. My problem is the temperature on the right hand side of the Santa Fe. I'm only getting cold, and the reason for that is that this little actuator arm here is not rotating. Okay, so the first thing I did was break it open, get inside of it, have a look inside, and everything looks good. There's a plastic gear train in there, everything's fine there. And again, this little yellow paint mark here indicates that the first 2 terminals on the left there are for the motor. Just swap the polarity on the first and second to get the motor to reverse, and I again use my little 9-volt battery for that. And then the next 3 pins are the feedback potentiometer. This one here is about 4.8k from the 5th pin back to the 3rd pin, and the 4th pin is the common pin. It's common with the 3rd and the 5th pin. So halfway of that I was getting about, what would that be, about 2.4 K ohms in a halfway position. It seems to be working fine. I rotated it backwards and forwards, and I was seeing the resistance increase and decrease to the to pin 4 from pin 3 or pin 5. I've opened it up, as I said, and had a good look at the motor. The motor is soldered in well. The motor runs well. Everything in here is fine. There's grease on the gear train. Everything looks fine. So I really think the problem now is likely to be my main control panel on the lower bottom part of the dashboard by the ashtray, where the dual controls are mounted. So I probably didn't have to go to all the trouble of taking off the foot brake, the emergency parking brake, to get up in to the side of the AC box to remove these two actuators. But anyway, I've done that now, and at least I've proven to myself that both of these actuators are fine. They're healthy. So I just wrote OK on them. So my next job now is to take the brake back out again. There's those 3 12mm bolts, or actually they're nuts, to take off the studs and remove that assembly so that I can fit in the top one, this one here, for the blending of the airflow, and then the lower one, this one here, for the blending of the hot and cold temperature. So at the moment I'm running without these two actuators in place, and I can just reach my arm up under the dashboard and just move. There's a big wheel that this part here is controlling. These two pins here fit into a rotary disc, so I can just operate that disc manually and select whatever position I want the airflow to be coming from. So I've set it up basically for the front vents at this stage, so it seems to be doing most of the need I have at the moment. And then this one here, all I've been doing is just reaching up under the dash and just moving the there's like a rod or pin that fits into this little groove here, and I've just been moving that manually. I've got a bit of blue tack on it so that it sort of stops in a halfway position, and that gives me sort of like half hot, it gives me like a half temperature, half cold, half hot. But it's summertime at the moment, so I've got it on the fully cold position, and everything's going fine. So I'm glad I didn't go out and buy these, because first of all, well, they're not all that expensive. This one's about $40 New Zealand, and this one here is also about $40 to $50 New Zealand. But the problem I have is trying to find a right-hand drive unit. All of the ones I found online are all for left-hand drive units. So I was getting a bit frustrated that I couldn't actually find this particular replacement actuator anyway. So maybe it was a good thing that I couldn't find it easily. So I haven't bought one, and I won't be buying one because I don't believe I need these. So my next job is I'm going to take that controller panel out of the car. I'm going to open the back of it up. There's some screws that hold the back panel in place. I'm going to have a good look in there and see if there's any dry solder joints first. Just check all that before I rush in and buy a replacement one. And I'll probably buy a second-hand replacement one if it's got a guarantee from a breaker's yard. They seem to be around about $80 to $120 New Zealand, so I'm not going to rush out and buy it if I don't need to. And first of all, just check to see if there's anything obvious inside of this panel, because the strange thing about it is that the controllers for the passenger and driver side, as you move the dials, the display shows a change in temperature, from low right up to high on both sides. So, you'd think, oh, well, that seems to be okay. And the display is displaying everything nicely as well with the different symbols on the LCD display. But it must be something that is not sending out the signal to drive the motor, or somehow the feedback signal is not being read into the controller, and it's just not moving it because it probably doesn't know which way to go and just sits there without sending any change in position to the little DC drive motor. So in some ways this is fairly basic. This is a little DC motor similar to what you'd find in a toy, a 12-volt toy, and it's a little round motor. You can sort of get an idea of the size of the motor. It fits in this little indent here. It's got a worm pinion coming off the end of the shaft, and there's three plastic gears that fit inside of this housing in the middle here, and then they drive out onto the shaft here that drives the actual actuator lever unit. Anyway, for those of you that have been following this diagnostics of mine for this Santa Fe, it's a 2007, goes through to about 2013, this model. From what I gather, problems with the blending of temperature on these air conditioning units, on the dual climate control units, is not unusual. So maybe this will help you in your tracking down of the problem. And maybe before you go ripping into taking these actuators out, maybe first of all take off the controller and have a look at that. And if you're able to swap another one in just for trial, that may well be your problem, because I believe that's going to be my problem on my vehicle. Okay, well, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you a little bit later on in another video. Probably do an update on this. Well, I will do an update on this once I actually get the thing completely running and all of the dashboard buttoned up. It's only been a couple of years with my dashboard stripped down, so I'm getting used to driving with all of the all of the covers and stuff removed. It'll be a bit of a surprise, I suppose, to have the vehicle all back together again, how it should be. Okay, thank you. Bye for now.